All right, so this will be the last question, and this is the one you wanted to bring up. And what can you tell us about the Forge in terms of like what's the goal of the Forge? Because it, to me, and I'm just a very basic coder, it just seems like another almost mod loader type of thing. And what can you tell us about the team and the model war that's going on, and what's going to be the impact of the Forge?
Okay, this is going to be dangerous, to be sure. Okay, because as you mentioned, like there is kind of a modder war going on right now. So I'm going to put like a big disclaimer on this to begin with. Okay, like anything that I say here, it does not represent the views of anybody else on that team, right? Like it should not be taken as, the opinions of other Forge team members or that kind of thing. This is just crazy old me rambling on, right? So, because one thing I've noticed, and like you'll see this in the Forge thread, like my reputation is such amongst the community, that I can't say that I like ice cream without it pissing somebody off. Like I am definitely not a good PR spokesperson at this point, right? People react to a lot of things I say with hostility. So the Forge. So starting at the beginning, and this is where it's going to get a bit dicey. ModLoader is an excellent tool, okay, but it's not enough to maintain compatibility between the larger mods that are out there. ModLoader provides a number of hooks, basically, that allow you to avoid modifying base classes within the game. So in layman terms, that means you can like add features to Minecraft without actually changing the Minecraft code, okay? Soon as you start making modifications to base classes, or changing the Minecraft code, so to speak, the problem that you run into is that other people are also changing that same code, okay? And if they happen to change the same code that you do, okay, and almost all big mods do this. Like, I don't think there's hardly a major mod out there that doesn't modify a base class either directly or through an API like ModLoader, okay? Soon as you both end up modifying that same class, you end up with an incompatibility problem. Sometimes that's fairly innocent, where, one feature of the mod will start working. Sometimes it's definitely not innocent in that the mods will just crash. Like Minecraft will cease to function, right? It all depends on what kind of code is changed. Now, obviously, Better Than Wolves is like a pretty frigging extensive mod. Like, a lot of mods are specialized in one thing or another, I don't think that Better Than Wolves really has kind of a focus anymore, Like, you could call the mechanical systems a focus, but at the same time, like, I touch a lot of different things. Like I got a new plant, like the hemp that's in there. I've even got some decorative aspects. I've got new entities. I've got new blocks. I've got new items. I got this. I've got that. And there's only going to be more of that, right? So the thing is, I end up having to modify like quite a bit of the base class or the basic Minecraft code to pull that off, right? Mm-hmm. There's just no way around it. Like I've sweated the details on that many, many times, but at a certain point I just had to say like, fuck it. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And one of the things I've mentioned several times along the way is like, I'm not willing to sacrifice features in the mod for the sake of compatibility. I do care about compatibility. Like some people misinterpret that as meaning I don't care. I do care about compatibility, but I'm not willing to make my mod less enjoyable to play simply for the sake of it, right? Like I make things compatible where I can, but like if I want a feature in the mod and I know it's going to be cool, well, I'm gonna put it in there even if it makes me incompatible with every single mod out there, right?
Mm. Kind of like what you did with Pistons.
Sorry?
Kind of like what you did with Pistons.
Did I do that with Pistons?
You changed something around so it could interact differently with Pistons. I'm pretty sure you made it a little bit more compatible with Pistons.
In those terms, I thought you meant I broke things when Pistons came out. No. I definitely know. I make, and even like when the Aether came out too, like, I couldn't make it 100% compatible just given the base class modifications that I was making, right? But I could help, right? So, it's still, like, the mod isn't, Better Than Wolves isn't 100% compatible with the Aether, but it's pretty good. Like, you can install both together, and, like, I've played both of them together myself, and, like, yeah, there's problems, but they're hardly noticeable, and they're with very specific blocks, like the detector block and that kind of thing. So, yeah, no, I definitely do care about compatibility. I'm just not willing to sacrifice too much for it. You know, like, I'm making this mod because I want it to be good, and I want to enjoy it, and I want to have fun playing it. And I'm not going to start chopping features out just because it makes me incompatible with X, Y, or Z, right? And the thing is, as development has continued to this mod and I've built in more features, well, you know, that means that I've become incompatible with more and more mods along the way. You know, and I try to do what I can, but, you know, it's just kind of the nature of the beast that this is going to happen. Now, there are a number of APIs out there that attempt to address this problem, because ModLoader, it covers a certain base amount of functionality with regards to compatibility, but there's too many potential conflicts between mods out there for a single API by a single guy like that to cover all the potential contingencies that could occur, like, you know, all the different conflicts that could come up between mods. And I began to realize with time that was true of pretty much every API that's out there. Like, most of the APIs that are out there are developed by single individuals who also have other big mods that they are working on at the same time. So they have a limited amount of time at their disposal to actually work on the API, to integrate functions from other mod authors, and really help with compatibility at anything other than a superficial level, right? The other problem that you run into with these APIs, I was just throwing that term out there. API is an application program interface. It's basically a tool that's used by programmers to communicate with the Minecraft code indirectly, so that we don't have to make these kind of base class modifications.
Oh, okay.
So it helps with compatibility by providing a backdoor through which we can access the Minecraft code, right? And assuming everybody is using the same backdoor, we don't run into compatibility problems with each other, right? So, like, because so many people are using ModLoader, we can use all the ModLoader functionality and all the backdoors that it provides without conflicting with each other. It only becomes a problem when we exceed the ModLoader functionality, which pretty much everything other than the most basic of mods does these days, right? So you end up with a whole bunch of other APIs that people have been developing to try to fill that gap. You know, there's stuff like Audio Mod that provides extensions specifically for dealing with game audio. There are mods that deal with tool use. There are mods that deal with achievements. These are all APIs, right? So the thing is, like, one of the things I've been talking about for a while, for example, is, like, I want custom audio in Better Than Wolves, right? Like, I'm using all these stupid fucking explosion sounds for the gearbox. And believe me, I know it. They're stupid fucking explosion sounds. I hate that. You know, but the thing is, it's like, I don't have the capability at present of including custom sounds in the mod without relying upon another third-party API like Audio Mod, okay? And I hate frigging doing that, okay? Because all of a sudden, it's like, it's an extra download step for users, okay? They've got to go download ModLoader, they've got to go download Audio Mod, then they can go and install Better Than Wolves. Now, if you consider how many support messages we get just about people fucking up their installation of ModLoader, you see the problem that begins to arise. Not only is it more of a pain in the ass for the individual users, which I'd rather avoid, it's inevitably going to result in more support questions. So if I start slapping on APIs one after another, it's okay, you know, I'm going to need an API for audio. I'm going to need another API for tool use. Another API to include achievements in the mod. I'm going to need another API for new types of armor if I ever want to include those. Okay, it's like, man, like, you see some big mods that are out there like that right now that require you to download 4 or 5 friggin' things before you can actually play the mod. It's just starting to get retarded, okay? And not only is it getting retarded, but a lot of these mods, okay? So say, for example, APIs to provide compatibility amongst mods that include new tools. That's a common one. Okay, there may be 2 or 3 different standards that exist out there already for APIs. Okay, so not only is it an extra pain in the ass for the users, it creates extra support headaches, okay, for the mod developers. You may end up with compatibility problems anyway, okay, because there's no standard in these APIs, right? So you basically choose whatever API you think is going to be the best, you go with it, and then, well, you're getting support questions anyway because, the API you chose isn't the same API that, say, Industrial Craft chose or whatever, right? So, big frigging mess. Okay, there is basically very little standardization or organization amongst the modders of the Minecraft community, and as a result, we're having a ton of problems with compatibility. Okay, and I hate compatibility questions. I hate people asking me, how do I get this working with that? It's a freaking pain in the ass. There are 100 different mods out there, probably more. It's annoying as all hell, right? Like, there's just no way I can be compatible with everything, although I'd like to be in an ideal world, So that's where the Forge comes in, okay? Now, this is the part where it's going to get a little bit dicey, okay, because I'm going to start talking about the Aether, and this is where I'd like to say these are entirely my personal opinions, okay? This has nothing to do with anybody else on the Forge team. When the Aether came out a couple of weeks ago, obviously a ton of people flooded to it, okay? There was huge publicity that surrounded that mod. A ton of particularly casual players wanted to download it, and wanted it to be compatible with everything. Now, an interesting thing about the Aether is it's not just a question of compatibility with a particular mod. Okay, with the Aether, they made a very particular choice to go with a particular API, which is Shock API, and Shaka is actually part of the Aether development team. Now, soon as I saw them do that, it didn't feel particularly right to me, in all honesty, because the Aether is such a huge mod, right? Up until that point, Shock API wasn't very well known, wasn't very widely used, and the release of the Aether and it being dependent upon it, honestly, to me, it felt like Shaka himself was strong-arming the community into using it, okay? And for his particular API to become a standard in the community. And again, it's a dicey conversation, but that particular API is a for-profit API. He gets ad revenue off of it, and I'd be pretty certain he gets a fair amount out of it because of that move to decide to associate it with the Aether. So the statement that was made there, okay, it was a very subtle statement, and I don't know if it was apparent to too many people, was, if you are going to be compatible with the Aether, you have to use my API. So frankly, I even considered using it at that point. I investigated the API and this and that, and I fired him a few questions about, could he provide additional hooks into the API so that it could avoid conflict with my mod, this and that. So, basically I was going for 100% API or 100% compatibility with the Aether in thinking about using it. But he never got back to me. Days went by, nothing happened. So, at that point, I'm basically left scratching my head as to, okay, well, I know that some kind of standard is necessary, right? And I don't necessarily think this is the right standard to be pursuing, because this guy doesn't seem very receptive to accommodating other mod authors. Better Than Wolves is fairly big right now. It's a pretty huge mod within the community. I would say it's even one of the more popular ones. So I would think that, compatibility with this mod would be of interest to an API developer. Yeah. Right? I would hope so anyway. And certainly if I'm going to sign on with an API and require people to download it, then it's pretty much a necessity. I have to know that whoever's in charge of it is going to be responsive to my needs and, actually help with compatibility. Otherwise, there's absolutely no reason for me to be using the thing. So, as I said, I began to get a little worried about kind of the direction that the modding community was going to take as a result of this. Again, the Aether is like a frigging big force right now. There's just so many people out there using it that I think the tendency will be for modders that are working on smaller mods to kind of glom onto the Aether and want to be compatible with it, and thereby end up adopting Shock API, right? And again, for the reasons I outlined, I don't think that is necessarily the right decision for the community. Like, I don't think it's really going to benefit Minecraft overall or the Minecraft community if everybody decides to do that. I think what we're going to end up with, if people go that route, is another API with limited functionality that's going to require, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional APIs to provide all the functionality that's needed. So yeah, with the Forge thing, what ended up happening is I noticed that that Space Toad and Elaram, who are makers of other big kind of technical mods, like Space Toad is the creator of BuildCraft, which is pretty huge. Elaram does Red Power, which is like an extremely technical redstone-based mod that I have nothing for respect for. And basically the two of them, not for the same reasons as me, it really has nothing to do with the stuff I just mentioned. I'm talking more about my reasons for wanting this. They had popped up with an open source API, which they were basically open to inviting other modders to participate in and that kind of thing. And that's really the crucial difference for me. Like, the Forge is, it's free to download. There's no advertising associated with it. It's open source. Other modders are invited to participate in the process. And what I'm hoping is by having that kind of open standard where nobody serves to personally benefit from it, okay, which is not the case with the other APIs. Like, we're basically donating our time and our code to this thing for free. Like, I'm an active participant in it now, because I really believe in this thing. We're donating all that for free, okay, for the benefit of other modders and for the sake of compatibility between mods, so that people will be able to use as many mods as possible together without problems, okay? It's basically virtually guaranteed that if a mod author is using the Forge, he's going to be compatible with every other mod using the Forge. And we're not going to provide like a limited set of functionality. We intend to basically try to accommodate the needs of as many modders as possible. So we're not just going to be doing a tool API. We're not just going to be doing a sound API. We're going to be trying to create a unified API to help people make mods, basically. So that's the big deal. That's why I'm so excited about this thing, is I'm hoping that it will take care of a lot of these compatibility issues and generally just make it a lot easier to make mods and a lot more pleasant to do so, because we won't have people bitching about compatibility every 2 seconds. Now, where the conflict comes in is, as I said, there are a lot of people making for-profit mods right now. And what it comes down to is, like, we're doing this for free. We're all talented programmers. Like, I'm extremely impressed with both, like, Space Toad and Elaram. Like, these guys really know their shit. Their code is super solid. Like, I'm 100% on board with them. Like I said, I worked a long time as a professional programmer, and I got, like, 0 problems with the code that these people are producing. And you can remember how many times I've said in the past, I don't want to work with other people. Like, this is a definite exception. These guys are damn good. They're solid. So, like, we've got talented coders working on, like, a unified API to make people's lives easier, non-profit. So, yeah, I just think it's a freaking excellent move. But people are getting pissed off because we're basically cutting into their revenue stream by doing this for free. And they may say a lot of other things about, why they don't want to go along with that. But ultimately, it comes down to money. Like, this is really, like, in the best interests of, like, modders and players, this is absolutely the right decision. There's, like, just no arguing about it. But there definitely is a community of people making money off of APIs out there, and they're none too happy about this. So yeah, it's become a bit of a war. So yeah, that's the rundown.
I don't know. It just surprises me. Like, well, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. It's just, I guess I never really realized how either much money people can make off something like this, or.
Well, the thing is, it's like, it's not that much money, man. Honestly, but the thing to keep in mind, it's like, okay, I'm an adult working on a Minecraft mod. I have other sources of revenue, like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to freak out over, like, 20, 30, 40 bucks a month or whatever, right? But if you're a 16-year-old kid or something, living in his parents' basement, like, 40 bucks is a big deal, right? Like, you may double or triple your allowance by, making Minecraft mods or whatever.
Okay.
So, you got to keep in mind that not everybody that's a Minecraft modder kind of has the same financial standards as everyone else. Like money can mean different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate. I really wish it wasn't that way. Like as like I've never made a dime off of Better Than Wolves, and that's my preference. Like just to do it for fun. Like I find it kind of like. It would muddy my own priorities, if I started making money off of it. Like if suddenly I can, make more advertising revenue by putting out a minor patch every second day, because I know my core users are going to download it, well, I might be tempted to do it,
Interesting. Okay.
Well, you understand what I mean, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
If people are making money off the individual downloads, then obviously, whether it's conscious or not, they want as many downloads as possible, right? And there are legitimate ways to pursue that in terms of like, okay, well, you could advertise your mod, you can put out cool videos, this and that. Although even that could be destructive because then you'll become more focused on advertising than features, or you may be tempted towards tricks like, okay, well, I've got 5 bugs that I want to fix. Should I release them all as one patch or should I release them as 5 different patches over the next 5 days so that my core users all click download and go to AdFly each time? Like to me anyway, like, I mentioned before, I don't want to bring money into this because I'm doing it for fun, but I think there are a lot of subtle ramifications to stuff as soon as you start bringing money into it, like do I start, going back to the bloody flower pot, like, well, maybe, like I'm making a fairly hardcore mod with a lot of like technical stuff into it that a small portion of the overall Minecraft audience enjoys, so I may do all this complex mechanical shit and, I get whatever X number of tens of thousands of downloads, right? Whereas, somebody will do a much fluffier mod that has a ton of like, retextured blocks basically. So everything looks different, right? And that stuff is pretty easy. Like, as long as you can make new textures and you have a bit of artistic ability, creating each individual block is like, 10, 15 minutes, right? So all of a sudden people have a whole bunch of new blocks and they're super happy. And for like casual players, that is a much bigger deal, okay? Like they get all confused by mechanical power and this and that, but, give them, 1,000 different colors of wool and, they're all creaming their pants, So, although the 1,000 colors of wool is a lot easier to do, it'll swallow up block IDs like fucking crazy, but, and you won't be compatible with everything, but, you're going to have a ton of fans, right? And a ton of downloads because people are going to love that. So the thing is, it's like, if I start bringing money into the equation, well, I may enjoy hardcore mechanical features more as a player, but if I'm doing it for money, well, then 1,000 different color wool blocks start sounding pretty good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, it's a question of muddying my priorities. It's like, what I'm going to do professionally and what I'm going to do for fun and as a hobby, they're two completely different things, and I probably wouldn't behave in the same way at all, if I were doing it professionally, So yeah, that's the money thing.
So what do you think the ramifications are of just donating? Like, put like a PayPal donate button instead of obviously based on either views or downloads. I
don't know. It's like, I guess it's definitely like a less harmful. Like, look, man, I don't begrudge anybody making money off this. Like, it's totally cool. And I think I'm really in the minority of modders, at least of the bigger mods, who don't do that in any way, right?
It still shocks me that you don't at least ask for not necessarily ask for donations, but say you can donate if you want. Because I think you'd get all kinds of donations. But, I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
I might, but, I don't think it would muddy my priorities as much. But like I know in checking other mod authors threads, like I've seen statements like, well, if you give me money, make sure like you realize it doesn't give you priority in like feature requests and this kind of stuff. Or I've even seen some mod authors on their page say, well, it does give you priority if
Oh, wow.
If you donate, well, I'm definitely going to listen to you, for the next feature request.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like, I don't, well, I even got it myself at one point. Like, I remember before I shut my PM down, I had one guy that sent me a message that was something along the lines of, well, can you put up a donate button because I really want to send you $20? The only condition I have is that, you listen to my feature ideas, right? He specifically, he directly said that, right?
Wow.
So, okay, whether people, me, I'm a strong-willed individual. I'll tell people to fuck off, if I don't like their ideas, this and that. I rarely do make any design decision because it's popular.
Yeah.
It's basically if you make a good logical argument to me about something, I've had it happen before where people have convinced me, I fucked up. The turntable was a perfect example. I wish I remember the user's name that did it. I made sure to thank him profusely for it. But one guy, when the turntable came out, everybody was kind of tripping balls on what you could do with it, including myself. I was having fun with playing with it, and there was one single guy that said, I think it's overpowered, right? And at the beginning, I was fairly hostile with him. I said, what are you talking about? This and that. It makes things more convenient. It gives you all these timer settings, And, but the thing was, once kind of the adrenaline rush of the new feature wore off, I ended up realizing, wait a second, I was really tired when I put that out. And I think he's actually right. I didn't properly consider, the actual power of this thing. It's really it was acting as a full 24-hour clock. There was a ton of stuff that you could do with it that would normally require some rather complex and interesting circuitry, right? And it was kind of like what I was saying about the diesel locomotive versus minecarts earlier. It's I put something like that in, right? And all of a sudden all other timers disappear from the game.
Yeah.
Any timer circuit that you might build otherwise, you don't need to anymore. And whereas basic timers, just for a few seconds or whatever, are kind of mundane and boring and just circles of redstone torches, that jam up on you, which I don't think anybody particularly enjoys building. More complex timers can actually be pretty damn cool, and I think Battosay himself has illustrated that in some of his videos, with using water flow for timers and all kinds of crazy shit. So, I don't necessarily want to eliminate stuff like that, and I have no idea what the fucking point was I was getting to with this. Can you bring me back on course there? What was the original point?
Well,
or the original topic?
Oh.
Well, it was the Forge.
Well, no, there was something after the Forge.
Yeah, we ended it. We stopped at the Forge, and then I asked you why you don't take donations, and how'd we get on turntables?
I don't know. Somewhere along the line, I was talking about how. Oh yeah, I remember what my point was. A couple of steps back in the tree of points. Anyway. But no, I was talking about how, with the release of the turntable, amidst all that, there was one guy when the feature first came out, and I didn't even know this guy, and he was like, no, this is overpowered. And it took me a couple of days to realize, yeah, he is absolutely right. I had really screwed up with that one. So I don't know if we were referring to general balancing issues that come up in some way, or see, that's the point where I lose the tree.
Yeah, I know we weren't talking about balance issues or anything like that.
Interacting with the community in some way, perhaps.
I'm drawing a huge blank. I can't remember at all.
Yeah, so am I. Well,
yeah. All right. Well, I guess on that point, it's. I think we're almost at an hour and a half now.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I guess it's a good way to wrap it up on a total non sequitur.
Yeah, exactly. So, I got a few more questions. Maybe we can do another interview sometime or something. But
yeah, it sounds good, man. I'm sorry it ran on so long like that.
Oh no, it's I love doing this, and I listen to a lot of podcasts that go well over an hour and a half about Minecraft stuff, so it's no big deal at all.
Cool, man.
How do you want me to maybe try to trim this up at all, or do you want me to just
I'll leave it to you, man. Like, I don't know if it would be practical to, like, put this up as a video or something, considering its length, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about a video. Like, I thought this thing was going to be 10 minutes or something, but I guess not. So, I don't know, maybe do it as some kind of audio download or something. I have no idea. I don't know that fancy internet stuff.
Alright. I'll try to talk to Battosay about it and see what we think or something.
Yeah,
Alright, sounds good, man.
Alright, well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
It was fun. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys, man. Seriously. And it was great meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, pleasure.
Alright, take care, guys.
Yeah, see ya.